like you said, like you have four different things on the go. When you start leaning into your genius zone and your talents, the
Mhm.
sky's the limit of how you can put that machine into work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when people came to you and said you're a connector, were you able to reflect back, like as far back as you possibly could, and be like, oh, that was my superpower all along, even from a very young age?
Welcome back to another edition of the Pear Genius Podcast. I am your host, Alex Pauls, this master genius, and my beautiful wife, Kathy Pauls, even smarter than me and continuously growing her intellect. I am having a hard time keeping up, but I am eating my vegetables. So, welcome. And today we have the lovely, talented Kate Lewis, who has not one, not two, not three, but four businesses, but we're going to be concentrating on one, and it's called Connection Consulting Partners. And for short, we just call it Connections. So go check it out. I'll leave the link in the description of the show. And welcome, Kate. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here. Excited to learn more about living in your genius and talk about brand.
Oh, for sure. It's always a good time. I feel like season two. Oh, I should say that this is part of our season two package where we're definitely talking a lot about branding and the connection of you to your brand. So we're going to be basically extracting all the goodness of who you are and why you create these companies. And I think that's fascinating. So I'll pass it over to Kati and we'll get fired up here and I'll be here for color commentary.
Love it.
It's
Thank you.
funny because we had a brief intro meeting with you last week, and I asked you of the four companies, which one do you feel is most resonant of your brand? So your personal brand, and you did say Connections, so that's why we're kind of focusing there. So why don't you tell us how Connections came to be?
Oh, yeah. So I have been in IT staffing, consulting services, sales for almost 20 years. And I
So since you're about five
honestly,
years old.
I'm very, yes, thank you. Very young. I'm
You're
just
a serial entrepreneur, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. And so I had gotten burnt out by corporate, like a lot of people do. Um, I was working in a corporate environment and I had felt disconnected from the mission of recruiting, which was matching people to jobs that they want to do, that they're inspired to do, that are aligned with their values and aligned with their purpose. And so I had the opportunity to exit corporate and I left and I talked to my husband and said, hey, I think I need a little bit of a break from this. And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur and start something new. And will you give me a chance? And so we agreed to give me a year to figure something out and find a way that I could sell my services, add value, and find a way to create some revenue to come in for it. And so that was the birth of Connections. The name Connections came from when I was asking people that knew me. They would always say that Kate is a connector. And have you met Kate? You need to meet Kate. She knows people. And I was always in this business of connecting people to job opportunities or companies to talent. And so I kind of see myself as being this connector. And so that was the way that the name brand Connections Consulting Partners came to be.
Beautiful. That's lovely. And there's such an obvious process. Maybe it's not obvious, but there is a process from burnout to a period of rest, rejuvenation, and then creativity so that you can kind of flow into the next thing. So, connection is so great because there's this transition period from burnout to the next where people often find themselves lost, kind of missing their true north, not able to ground into the next thing. So, how great that you come in and provide this connection point to get them to the next thing.
Yeah, I think that if you keep focusing on your job and stability and money, sometimes you can steer away from your passion or your purpose or your values. And so sometimes we do need to take a break I always love the European cultures that actually take like 3 week or 4 week vacation and holiday, because it kind of takes that much time to like get out of the daily grind with your list of responsibilities where your mind is always racing of the long to-do list, and like actually unplug and get to a point of rest and relaxation. And so I did. I took about a month before I was like, I think this is what I want to be. And then there was also this exploring of, what do people think about when they think about me? And I think so much of your brand is, and what I tell people is when the phone rings and my name comes up on your caller ID, or you get an email in your inbox or a LinkedIn message for me, like, what do you think of? What kind of words describe me or come to mind? And you want that to be a positive reaction, right? You want that to have a positive reflection. And then I think about like purpose. And so often people are tied to their job title and the company that paid their paycheck, and that is their brand and that is their identity. And we're so much more than that, right? And so we could be problem solvers or creative designers or process improvers or organizers, right? Like there's a lot of these skills that we have that are our natural strengths and tendencies. And sometimes we're not able to utilize those strengths in a job that we have. And it's a great time to reflect on, is this job really leveraging all of my natural energies and strengths, and is it aligned with my passions and my values, or is it just a paycheck? And it's okay to make a change and to pivot in your career and to intentionally shift what your focus is on, so that you can find a company, a job, a career, or start a business that is more aligned. And then I think that prevents future burnout. If you're doing something that you really love, then maybe, hopefully, you get to a space where work is energizing and not draining.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a huge genius move to not abandon the tools that you've accumulated over the 20 years, but to recognize the strengths and the abilities that you do have, and then to be humble enough to listen to the common denominator of the gold that people say that you are. Like,
Mhm.
who is Kate? I thought that was a fantastic way to, like, when Kate's name pops up, what do you think of? In a positive way, obviously. And I think that is such a fascinating way to try and tie your gifts together. And you could pretty much do many different things. Like you said, like you have four different things on the go. When you start leaning into your genius zone and your talents, the
Mhm.
sky's the limit of how you can put that machine into work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when people came to you and said you're a connector, were you able to reflect back, like as far back as you possibly could, and be like, oh, that was my superpower all along, even from like a very young age? Were you able to connect those dots for yourself?
From a very young age, that's interesting. I think possibly yes, because like from a very young age, I was always worried about like making sure that people felt included, and like if there was someone that was sitting alone at the lunch table, like making sure they had a friend or that they were invited in, or like on the sports teams, or for invites to a birthday party or something. Like I always had this like inclusivity mindset of like, don't leave someone by themselves. And maybe that ties into my own, like, I'm not great at quiet alone, being like, I don't, being alone and away from people is like my fear. But definitely professionally, because every meeting that I'm in, when I'm meeting a new person and I'm networking and I'm talking to you all, I'm always thinking like, who else do I know that this person has something in line with or in common with that would be a great referral, introduction, or partner to this person? And so the way that my brain always has worked is talking to someone, listening about what they share, and be like, oh, you know what that reminds me of? I have this other friend that has this other podcast, or we know Jamie in common who does working genius assessments. And so it's always about connecting people to things they have in common and helping them meet new people to expand their network. And so beyond connecting, I guess the other thing that like is part of my superpowers is this networking. It comes very easily to me because it's just the way that I have approached my career, being in sales, and then it just comes naturally being an extroverted person.
Wow. I want to know more about your fear of being away and alone. Tell me more. What is that?
I just don't do well in the quiet and the silence and being alone. So like I guess it's just the extreme extroversion. It's probably why I accidentally have now gotten involved in four companies, is because like the downtime, the quiet time, the alone time, which I know is important and healthy for rest and relaxation, is I don't do well with like that.
But it's the opposite. Like introverts, they go in to recharge. Extroverts go out to recharge. So the like the being alone, doing the accounting or whatever, that's the draining thing for you.
Yeah, like I love talking to people. So anything that I have to be heads down and like, yeah, repetitive, mundane tasks, accounting is probably like one of my least favorite tasks to do, right? The bookkeeping part of running a business, but the meeting new people and partners and clients and brainstorming and strategizing is the fun and exciting pieces. So like, I would rather fill my calendar with the fun things. And then I think the important part of being a business owner or even just a good team member is hiring to your strengths and complementary to you, right? So the things that I know I'm not great at, like I probably need to hire an accountant or someone to do the operational details of the business for me because I'm not going to spend the time doing those. And when I do spend the time doing those, it takes away from my energy level. Um,
I think that's a cool superhero birth story though, where somewhere in elementary school you were probably left behind, and it was so scarring that you know what? Instead of being a victim, you pulled up the old socks and you're like, no one's gonna be left behind. I'm gonna take charge, and because if you're
True.
leading the way, you can't be left behind because you're with the fishing
True.
net grabbing everybody along the way.
Oh my God, there's some like childhood unpacked trauma here. And I haven't gone through the whole like therapy, but maybe possibly. I mean, I have a brother and a sister. I'm the eldest daughter. I think a lot of that shapes your personality as well.
Sure,
Yeah.
we're
And
the
then
oldest too, both of us.
both of you. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it's a there's a part of that birth order, right? We talked about like when you're born, astrology, like there I geek out. I love all those personality assessments.
Oh, good. Did we ever ask
Yeah,
you what your
us too.
birthday is? Kathy was supposed to ask you
Yes, we
that.
did. No,
Okay.
no, I know what she is. Remember, because she's like four businesses, go, go, go,
Oh,
initiator. I'm
right.
like
She's a
Aries,
Taurus, right? Aries? Oh, okay.
Aries.
Aries. April 18th. I'm going to guess April 18th.
You're correct, actually.
See, I do remember.
Hey, good
Yes.
job.
See,
That's
I do
funny.
remember
That's
some
funny.
things.
We did talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome.
Um,
But no, we
and
need
then
people like
also
you.
go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say that okay, so you're very extroverted, you don't want to be alone and quiet. And so, actually, what is restorative time for you? Like, how do you do
Mm.
self-care?
Hmm. As a working mom that has four businesses and serves on two nonprofit boards, I don't do it well. So it's not something that people should come to me for advice on. But
There's no
I
deprivation tank in your future.
I've seen those, the float, like the
Yeah.
salty float things. Oh, that would be cool. I do try to book massages once a month. I love spa days. Specifically, have learned that there's a really nice spa here in Raleigh, North Carolina called the Umstead that I will book for myself, but I need to go without a friend so that I'm forced to not talk to someone for a couple of hours. If I go with a friend, then even that part of the relaxing spa experience becomes social time, but it's fine to meet up with a friend afterwards, right? But not during the spa experience. So spa time, the massage, my workouts in the morning, I'm trying to do those are reflective times. And then I'm trying to be good now that the weather is better. Although I was a wuss in the winter of outdoor walks during the day. So in the middle of the afternoon to give your break from the screens and the back-to-back meetings on video all day, I find I perform better for the second half of the day if I can go take a quick walk. So 15 or 20 minute, try to get a mile in, sunshine, outdoors time. And during that time is when I'll listen to Audible podcast, TED Talk, book on tape or something. And then that's a good recharge moment for me as well. That's about it. Not the
No,
best.
that's not bad. That's pretty good. Now, if I could offer to you four elements,
Sure.
which one would be the one that you would recharge the best in? Not just recharge, but also find inspiration in.
Mm.
So being in water, being in the sun and the heat, the wind, right? Or walking barefoot on the ground. Which of the four elements do you think would be your element?
Oh, for sure, water baby. Love the water. So whether it's a lake, a waterfall, the ocean, a water feature in someone's backyard, I'm drawn to the water. For sure, the water.
I can totally relate to that.
Amazing. Right? You
Yeah.
totally do, dear. That's where you pull your, that's where he gets all of his inspiration. He goes into the shower and he comes out like, and he's had this philosophy stuff come in. And it's like, holy smokes.
I
That's a
need
good idea too.
I need one of those boards where you're right in the shower, but then I'd probably waste
Yeah.
all of our water. But I'd be like, girl, in there all the time, like a beautiful mind.
Or just an AI speaker that you can dictate to from the shower and be like talking through it and it's recording what you're talking about too.
Me and Google or ChatGPT were hanging out in the shower together.
The shower, as long as the video part's off, then we're cool. Or if it's
Right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Except that he wants AI to say, hey, looking good today, Alex. Keep up the
Right.
good work.
Looking shredded. Oh, I
That's
love.
awesome.
Oh man.
So I've got the background now, the story of how you've come into connection with your brand connection, one of your brand words. And then I had a couple of other brand words come in for you, one of them being transition, because I think that that space, people are freaked out by transition, right? Because
Yeah.
it's often a time of flux and the ground is kind of moving beneath you and you're having a hard time getting into the flow. So I love that water is your element because then there's this amazing, beautiful sense of flow from one to another through transition. So that's where all the magic happens. And then I think that another
Yes.
word that came in was creativity. So I wanted to know about your creativity. How are you creating? Every human has creative potential for sure. So what is creativity for you?
I love brainstorming sessions where we can just like talk and brainstorm. I prefer to dictate over whiteboard, but someone needs to take the notes, whether that's AI or another person that we're brainstorming with. I've actually, I don't know if this counts for creativity, but I do a lot of gardening outside and like so planting and gardening and just being in nature and growing pretty flowers. And I did that. I've grown into that kind of with the help of my husband who prefers to be outside. That's his escape. And so just to have pretty things to look at in time. So I think nature sparks my creativity. And then I have a teeny bit of interest in painting and trying to do painting. My grandma was an artist. And so I paint usually with my daughter or something. So I do a little bit of that. And then I would say listening to music, I find also like the music reflects your mood often. And so if I'm trying to like get into a creative juice instead of being, maybe this is also the not being alone and quiet, like I'll have music playing while I'm trying to do some sort of creative activity. I like to have the music going in the background.
That's awesome. So when you're talking about the gardening, do you get to choose any of the plants that go in?
Yeah, like we started with the back flower garden. I've recently done the front flower garden. Now I'm picking flowers that attract like hummingbirds and butterflies and that are deer resistant because I have a deer problem in my backyard. They like to eat my pretty flowers that I spend money on. And
Wait a minute, Kate.
um,
You don't have a deer problem. You have a not catching and eating a deer problem. You have
oh,
unlimited food coming to you. This is a great thing. This is a great thing.
I plant yummy plants that are not just pretty, but they're good tasting. And I'm like, there's a whole woods for you to explore with free plants
Right.
that are wild. Don't come eat my expensive hydrangeas, which, by the way, deer food.
Of
Really?
Hydrangeas.
course, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Didn't we just plant some?
No, we didn't plant a hydrangea.
Oh, you always tell me that it's a hydrangea and not a dogwood.
Oh, in the back it's a hydrangea, but the deer are not coming into the backyard. Anyways, we digress.
It's
I
deer
want
food.
to
They love it.
know, I want to know what the predominant color in your garden is.
Um, blues and purples are the colors in the backyard, and white is the offset color. Purple is my brand. My color for a lot of my brands was choice. The choice was purple because it's not too feminine like pink, but it's also not too masculine. It's kind of an in between. And I think that in researching it, it was more about like loyalty and royalty and like I just find comfort in the color purple.
Huh? And that's exactly where I was going. I wanted to know if purple was just the website or if you incorporate purple around, if that's one of your healing colors.
Yeah, purple, and then secondarily would be blue if you think back to like ocean, water stuff. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah,
purple followed by blue. Cool, what are those? The cooler, calmer colors, not the fire colors.
Mm.
right. Yes. Except that you have yellow in your brand too.
I
So
do.
tell me about the yellow.
That was because of a partner, and that's in one of my brands in a complementary color, and then because of his color from his brand, and then the new company's green for money. But purple is my choice. When you work with other people, they have influence and they bring colors to the table as well.
Sure.
It's very true.
Yeah,
So, but purple is you.
I like purple. Yeah.
That's good. And I think that the way you answer the question too about the gardening and being in the nature, like having your hands in the ground and taking care of something that's actually alive and growing it, and these are all, I don't know, zen. It's like zen for your heart and your soul, and that's totally a rechargeable thing. And I'm finding that too this year, where I'm taking care of the garden, and it's kind of unlocking a like the next level of me. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
I can see why as you get older you get more into that, because you're kind of forced to, like, I don't, my kids don't need me to take care of them as much as they used to need me, but I still have that need to care for something. So I take care of the
Yeah.
dog, I take care of the house, I have this garden now, and I feel like it's kind of a neat evolution. And there's something about the nature aspect and the artistry of picking the flowers that are going to attract like birds that are going to make you happy, like hummingbirds and all these
Hmm.
different, like, hummingbirds are magic. Whenever we see a
Oh, I
hummingbird,
love.
it's a big deal.
Oh yeah, I love hummingbirds and butterflies. Yeah. And then the gardening was cool as a family activity to get the kids involved, but about like here's how you can grow food that you can eat. So that's more like the vegetable garden versus the flower garden of like picking the seeds and like and then also because there's so much instant gratification in our world right now, for them to have to wait. You plant a seed, you have to water and maintain a seed. There has to be good weather conditions, and then it grows into a plant, and then it becomes, it blossoms, and then it becomes a vegetable, and then you have to wait for it to be ripe, and all the things that go into the maintenance of the garden. I loved what you talked about that, but also like the pride of I grew this strawberry, blueberry, tomato, whatever we're growing in the garden. And now we get to eat it at the table. And this was something that I grew, not just something that I purchased. I think is awesome. So as a family activity. And I use the gardening metaphor in one of my videos about networking as well and about relationships because it's about building and sustaining a relationship over time and that care and maintenance and feeding. And if you don't care and maintain and check in and nurture a relationship and use it as a networking event in a transactional capacity, it doesn't have the ability to really mature and bear the fruit that you could and if you waited. And so I think gardening has a great metaphor for a lot of things, actually.
100%. Now you're leaning into some serious symbology with all of the gardening and the growing. The hummingbird itself as a symbol is one of those power symbols, right? Especially for you because they're so small but so mighty. So the hummingbird symbol is and the butterfly for transformation. When you're moving from one thing to another, you could so easily lean into that too for so much of your supporting imagery. And then
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring this all back to I am trying to get to your heart because when I go through your website and the information, you're kind of missing from it. Like I'm trying to feel into who you are, and I cannot quite get there from the website right now. And I feel
Okay.
like if you were able to really lean into the vulnerability of being alone, that you would find ridiculous treasure in there to start bringing through your brand and your messaging and your Instagram when you're putting things out there to lead with your heart first. Now, if your heart is scared and there are walls because you're scared of being alone, it's hard to access that. And I
Hmm.
think that once the heart is able to open safely, once you've created that safe space, and it sounds like your husband is able to hold safe space because he likes being outside, he likes to ground, he wants to support. So if you could lean into that to bring it forward, I think that would be the next evolution of your brand, is to lean into the feel and the heart, and don't be scared to bring it through, because even the flow of water, let the website flow, let the emotion flow. There's so much
Mm,
emotion in the corporate world that maybe we don't talk enough about, right? The
yeah.
emotion of burnout, and then the emotion of having to find the courage to leave and ask for help. Like there's so much emotion. So I feel like there should just be more presence in that.
I
Mhm.
love that. No, that's good advice for
And
sure. And
do you find a lot of people that have burnt out? Like, do you attract them to you and then help them move on to that next stage where they could take their gifts and bring it to another company as a contractor or as a consultant?
yeah, so in the leader in transition group that I coach is a lot of times executives and leaders that may have spent 20 years at the same company, always working for the same. I do a lot in IT, so CIO, that CIO retires, they bring in a new, and then they get let go. And they're for the first time in their career, laid off, unemployed, and they don't have a leader to follow to another job. Like they're it's just very disorienting. But also someone that spent that long at the same company, their entire brand and identity is tied to that company and that job because they had never really been separate and been able to explore like who am I without this brand of
Mhm.
or identity of this company. Or sometimes they may have moved a couple of times, but they are also just experiencing more rejection in a period of a job transition. So I do a lot of coaching in the transitional period for people that are executives later in their career transitioning, sometimes transitioning to another corporate C-level executive role, sometimes transitioning to consulting or starting their own business. So I've actually helped a lot of people, and this was like the unintentional accidental evolution over the last 4 years, exit corporate and start their own entrepreneurship journey and become a fractional executive consultant. And that's kind of what spun my second business. The business number two was I found that I was empowering, inspiring, coaching, enabling people to start this their own entrepreneurial journey, and that kind of fed fractional talent, that second company.
Sure. And going back to what Kati was saying is when you're sharing your vulnerability of how you obviously you had to be strong and accept the fact that you were burnt out and make this transformation. But if you can be as relatable as possible and as honest as possible with
Mhm.
people who find you and read your story, it does plant that seed in them that, oh,
Mhm.
this is somebody that will get what I'm going through. It's somebody that's
Yeah.
going to get and trust me and help me get to where I need to go because you've done it.
Yeah. Yeah. It needs to be like a safe place and a supportive place where a lot of times I will work with a senior level IT executive who happens to be a male that's older than me. And then they're not used to asking for help or being vulnerable because they've always been in a position of power and authority. They've built their entire career over being the person in charge, right?
Mhm.
And
Good thing your
it's very
superpower is being
interesting.
inclusive, including them.
And so it's interesting like to let them open up and
Yeah.
for the first time teach them about asking for help, going back to former colleagues and people that used to work on their team and asking if there's a job at the new company that those people work with, like reconnecting with old colleagues. Because again, a lot of times people get so, they're rightfully so, but you're so heads down, focused and busy on the company and the job that you have that you're not really great at staying connected and engaged with past colleagues that have moved on to new other companies and new opportunities and that have left until you find yourself in a position of transition for yourself for the first time and you're like, oh crap, like what do I do
Mhm.
now? And how do I, without feeling fake, reach back out to these old friends and colleagues and ask for help?
But I think that the old ways are done. Like staying at the same company for 30 years, doing the exact same job for 30 years, that's done. Like nobody's going to do that anymore. So I think that this is fantastic. I think a lot more people are accepting the fact that job security isn't job security anymore. You don't have to
Mhm.
be loyal to the same company. If you're being treated the way you don't want to be treated, it's time to start looking elsewhere. You don't have to
Yeah.
settle to be, you know, you don't have to be a martyr anymore. It's not the old
Yeah.
ways.
I'm just going to say that the what I see as the higher perspective here is that we are whole job security thing. We are training and teaching and coaching and motivating people to rely on themselves, to count on yourself,
Yes.
right? Like it's not about the external anymore. We're bringing people back in. That's why personal branding is such a catchphrase right now, even though I'm moving it more to soul branding now. That's the level and the depth of connection we're trying to create. So what I'm offering to you, Kate, is that you've done all the work. You've made so many connections to the earth through your gardening, to yourself, because you've already left and now you rely on yourself. You've created all these external connections. I can guarantee you there will never be a moment where you will be alone, and you don't have to be afraid of being alone because you will never let yourself down. You've already done all that groundwork. That's a vulnerability you are ready to open and jump into because you've got you. You're not going to let yourself down. So,
Mhm.
in this beautiful movement of you being an initiator for other people to start depending and relying on themselves, reconnect, resonate with yourself, you are that
Mhm.
initiator because you've done the work. And all that's left is maybe just to open up the heart just a little bit more, peek in, and let that start flooding out. And then the level of people you'll be reaching, the circumference of the people you'll be reaching will be unbelievable. That's why you're here.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And I think the imagery, like you mentioned about flow and butterflies, and I don't know, you don't think of a hummingbird as a strong animal, but then you were mentioning like the hummingbird. I don't know, like it's the speed of his little wings, and maybe there's like symbolism in that too.
100%. For sure, right? Because the hummingbird's not sitting still very much. He's flying from here to there, there, there.
He's a Kate.
I don't have any tattoos, and I've always joked that I now collect companies like people collect tattoos. It starts with one, and then all of a sudden you have a whole sleeve of tattoos. And I'm not talking from experience because I actually have none, but I'm wondering if it would be like a hummingbird or a butterfly now that you're talking about like the imagery. So
See, the next time you're in your garden, you can think about that because that seems to be your meditation time or you're in the spa.
yeah, yeah, I
I
love
love that.
that.
As long as you dedicate that tattoo to us, I'm cool with it. You just go
Yes,
ahead.
it'll just say Pear Genius Podcast,
Yeah.
Katia and Pop, Katia and Alex.
Yay. We did it.
Yeah.
Man, I that was my wife almost always makes me cry when she like hits you. It's I swear the arrow like bounces off and hits me right in the heart. I'm like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah.
It's such a gift to be seen, and that's why my wife's superpower is she sees like through your soul. So it's quite amazing. So
It is.
I
I
love
love
that.
that. Yes, I
No, I
agree.
think that if people spent their time like looking at the other person's soul instead of them as a human, the interaction would be so much deeper and more, I don't know, feeling and flowy and enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, and the questions that you asked, right, to dig it out, like your color or like the fire versus water energy symbolisms, whatever those are, the four elements of earth or whatever, the creativity, what do you do for relaxing? Yeah, it all brings it out. And I didn't even think that like the gardening was going to be necessarily relevant to the building of a business, but then we were able to pull it all together. The metaphors are strong.
Yes, metaphors are good.
For sure.
I love that.
Do
Thank you
you have
both.
anything else for Kate, or do you want to ask her the question?
Oh,
So, yes, I have a question that was left by our last guest specifically for you. So, I'm just going to go ahead and ask that. What's the one thing you've never allowed yourself to have?
Oh wow.
And don't say alone time.
well, I mean, I was gonna say, um,
Okay, you can say that if you want.
the one thing that I've never allowed myself to have, like I have never like gone on a vacation alone, like booked a hotel, even if it's just for like one night or like a quick weekend or something, like gone on vacation with myself to explore something. Like it's always with my husband, my family, my kids, my girlfriends. Like I have never just spent that time alone to go on a trip. So that is what
Well,
it
now
is.
you know you have to do that.
Yes. That's my face, my fears. Book myself. I'm like, I have to go on a trip by myself.
Yeah.
Goodbye, family. Bye,
Yeah,
husband. We'll see
Kate,
Right?
you.
so many of the things that you said resonated with me. I was like, oh wow, it's like you and I are very, very similar. One of my biggest fears when I was younger was to go to a movie theater by myself and sit by myself and watch a movie. I was just
Yeah,
like horrified that everybody would be watching me and feeling sorry for me, or going and eating alone at a restaurant
right. I can do
by
that
myself.
now. I can do that now. Go to a
Oh,
restaurant
that's
alone.
amazing.
So you're
And I
evolving, but yeah, but to have a trip
but
by yourself, it's you really got to like yourself, right? You really got
I
to.
mean a trip by yourself, like, and I guarantee I would talk to all the locals at whatever new place, new city, new country I visited and like make friends, right? I wouldn't necessarily be quiet the whole time,
Right,
but
right. We did,
um
Kate, I will share that we had a guy stay in our basement or our Airbnb suite, which is in our house, for, what was it, 2 weeks? He
it
did a
sounded better
silent
when you said
retreat.
Airbnb suite than basement.
Yeah,
Right?
in our Airbnb. It's the best part of the
The
house.
man we
So
kidnapped and threw in the basement.
yeah, he's in the dungeon right now. He was down there for 2 weeks. He did a silent retreat,
Oh,
and he was
wow.
fasting and didn't talk and was by himself for 2 weeks. It was fascinating getting a chance. I wish we could have talked to him longer as he was leaving, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was. I mean, the things that he probably journaled and went through. Wow. I mean, that would be something.
Yes.
That would be something on the bucket list to do, and just get that time with yourself.
Do you know how many books you could actually read? Like finish a whole book? Like, do you know
Oh,
how often I've
easily,
gone on
yeah.
a vacation with a book and like not finished it because there was just not the time? Maybe when my kids are older and out of the house and fully grown, I will find more time and I'll be more brave to go on a solo trip.
I can see it. I can see it in your future. So, I do need the question from you for the next guest.
Mm.
Oh,
And while Kate's thinking, I was just going to say that she's going to come stay
oh.
in our Airbnb suite for 2 weeks and not talk to anybody.
You're gonna kidnap her and throw her in the basement.
Can we
Yeah.
start with 2 days?
2 days, but I'll make you climb a mountain, and then away you go. We're right by the Rocky
Right?
Mountains.
Oh, I think that my question will be is how have you inspired others
Nice.
I love that
to
question.
either like fulfill their brand or their passion or their values, but like how have you been an inspirational to someone else? Would be my question.
That's totally appropriate
Beautiful.
for this podcast.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kate.
You know
I
what?
love it.
I wanted to share with you that I did pull something, so I needed some guidance. Like, it's basically going into a little cocoon for self-love and the power of radical rest for you,
Radical rest in a bird's nest. I
right?
love it.
Maybe a
Radical
hummingbird's
rest.
nest? I don't know.
I don't, do they even have a nest?
Yeah, they make
I've
little
seen them. They're
little
so
nests.
tiny.
They do?
Yeah, little
They're the
bowl
sweetest
nests.
things.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Radical rest. I'm
I
into the
hope
alliteration too.
I
Right?
hope we impressed you with our magic, Kate.
You
But it
definitely did. It inspired a lot of new thought and opened my eyes to things about myself that I wasn't aware of. So it was very
nice.
interesting
Good.
and
I'm glad.
exciting.
And
We
you know
always
what?
get little things too. So
For sure. And I
Yeah.
would say that, and now that I know Kate better, I really like you. I like you a lot.
right?
I would
I
totally
like
meet
you a
you in
lot
person.
too.
I would
Thank
totally
you.
connect with you. This was such a
Yeah,
pleasure to get to know you better.
this was fun. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. And yeah, if you ever make your way to Raleigh, North Carolina, I don't have an extra bedroom bath in the basement, but I have an extra bedroom. So
No problem.
it's
It's
not a
on my
separate
bucket list.
Airbnb.
I got to go to North Carolina and see UNC and go
Duke.
pay homage to Michael Jordan. No, I don't like Duke. I hate
Yeah.
Duke.
Well, but they play each other. You have to go to
Oh
one of
yeah.
the basketball games.
Oh,
You're coming
that'd
for
be
basketball. So
that's a crazy
March
rivalry. Yeah,
Madness.
for sure.
Yeah.
But
If you can
let
get
everybody know
tickets.
where they can find you. I'll put it in the show notes. But where if anybody wants to get a hold of you, let them know, and then we'll sign off for today.
All right. Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Kate Lewis in Raleigh, North Carolina. Connections Consulting Partners is one of my companies. Um, just that, connectionsconsultingpartners.com. Pretty long. Yeah. Excited
Awesome.
to connect with people.
For sure. And for my wife, Kati, and myself, Alex, I hope that everybody enjoyed another great episode. And season 2 is turning out to be amazing. So I'm super excited for all the things to come. And Kate, I hope that we can get you back again one day and get to know you even better because I can't wait to see what comes out of this meeting. So thanks again for joining us and humoring us with all of our crazy husband and wife comedy duo skit here. And you know,
I loved the
we
questions.
yeah, we appreciate you. So have a great day, everybody, and keep living your genius. We'll see you next time.